Thank you, Madam Chair. General Bondi, thank you for being here. I'm going to get parochial for a bit of time. Maybe I have some time for some of the other questions. But the eastern band of the Cherokee is this island that's at the very end of western North Carolina. You got convergence of Tennessee and Georgia, South Carolina nearby. But they're an island, and they sell pot, and I got no problem with that. What I have a problem with is some of their actions or activities that are, I think, concerning me that actually speak to the broader issue here about marijuana and what we ultimately do with it, with nearly 36 states having it either medical, recreational, or hybrid. But this kind of feels like, to me, the way the tobacco industry got attacked for advertising to young people. We already know, incidentally, that we got a vape problem around here, particularly among young people. And Madam Chair, if I may, I'd like to seek unanimous consent for letters from the Sheriff's Association and the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association Foundation citing the serious problem we have here with illegal vapes in this country.
Without objection.
Thank you. But, you know, this worries me because it's a money-making enterprise. It kind of seems like it's preying on younger people. But then I want to talk about this handy app you can get now. Now, it's illegal in North Carolina and Tennessee and Georgia and South Carolina to buy pot, but apparently you can go order it on an app, then right over there to the boundary and get it, I assume that they're not delivering it outside of the boundary, because I think that would be illegal. Would that be illegal?
Senator, thank you for pointing that out. I was not familiar with that app, but we will certainly look at that.
Yeah. Do you, if I get, let's say I get an illegal, let's get a vape from China. A lot of them are manufactured in China. Not
the majority.
To anywhere near the sort of scrutiny that we have here in the United States. If that illegal vape let's say it's, I don't know what it's loaded with, but it gets if it's illegal in the state of North Carolina, and let's say it comes in, I'm using a hypothetical example, into the port of Wilmington, and then finds its way to New York or some other state that has legalized marijuana, is that an illegal transportation of a controlled substance? In other words, unless it teleports into a legal jurisdiction, wouldn't it have been illegally transported at some point?
Based on federal law, Senator.
Based on
yes.
federal law, okay. Now, do you are you familiar with the science of teleportation?
No, Senator.
I don't think it's been perfected yet. And so it requires a physical movement from one place to the other. I've asked a number of people when they've come before this committee, and hopefully I can get your attention on this too, General Bondi. There's a growing operation in western North Carolina that is a part of the tribal lands. The problem is I can't find any legal way to get this pot that is grown here to the dispensary that's in another non-contiguous area of the boundary. So you see what I mean? I'm just trying to figure out how the eastern band of the Cherokee are legally transporting what they're growing at scale here to what they're advertising in Charlotte on the billboards as one of the country's largest dispensaries, and apparently also offering to let you buy it online. So can I get your commitment within the DOJ, not you personally, but that can I just get a definitive answer that there's no there, that they are legally transporting it, or that we do have something here that doesn't seem to comport with federal law?
Yeah, Senator, I will absolutely have my team look at that issue, and I'm not familiar with that establishment.
Yeah, well, it's, like I said, it's an island. I really think the federal government needs to step up. We need to get rid of this neither fish nor fowl sort of status that marijuana has in this country now. I think the people have spoken. Many red states, even your home state, my home state, has, I think, probably many states, I should say, not just the state of Florida, are trending towards legalizing it. We've got to get it solved at the federal level. We've got to capture revenue. That revenue needs to go back to federal law enforcement, and we need to have a lot more focus on what I think are unsafe and inconsistent practices across the state. So if I could get that, I would appreciate it. General Bondi, I'm kind of a boring management consultant, nerd that believes in best practices as a way to kind of move forward and create consistent outcomes. I'm having a real struggle right now with the National Guard being deployed and masking the abject failure of leaders at the state and local level. So give me some sense of if the deployment of the National Guard to Chicago or Portland is necessary to kind of create a shock to the system, do you believe that that's a best practice or just a necessary evil until we regen the extraordinary work I've seen on joint task forces every day in North Carolina with absolute cooperation between state, federal, and local officials? Is that the best practice that we should get to, or is this deployment of the National Guard a part of an emerging best practice that I just don't get yet?
Yeah, Senator Tillis, seeing what's happening in Chicago, they need the National Guard. Our ICE members need the National Guard to protect the national buildings.
Oh, 100%. I'm talking about when it wades into local law enforcement. See, I felt like deployment in D.C. made sense because of the hybrid nature of D.C. What I'm saying is outside of that defending federal buildings and federal law enforcement, addressing, I think you mentioned over 500 murders in Chicago, it would just seem to me that all those bums should be thrown out in an election. And are we masking an underlying problem that will come back the minute we leave? That's what I'm talking about. Not the protection of federal buildings and federal law enforcement officers, but almost the sense of they become an arm of local law enforcement. I don't consider that a best practice. It doesn't sound like you do either.
Well, I don't believe our National Guard want to be doing that, but they're going to be where they have to be to keep Americans safe. In Memphis right now, the highest violent crime rate in the country. I was on the ground with Secretary Hegseth there, and our Guard was there, and they were thrilled. They're ready to help, and we used all Tennessee Guard there. Secretary Hegseth used all Tennessee Guard. They're working hand in hand with the Memphis Police Department, who I believe were very happy to have them there, helping them to keep Memphis safe. Can I go back to the vaping again that you brought up, please, Senator? So I went to Chicago, actually, with Secretary Kennedy, and it was just outside of Chicago in a suburb, and we were there talking about the illegal vapes and what parents need to know. This is a bipartisan issue. What people need to know, these illegal vapes, they're all over this country. You can buy them in convenience stores. You can buy them in grocery stores. One vape is the equivalent of, I believe, 20 cigarettes. The flavored ones are illegal, and they're targeting children, what you said earlier. Some of these vapes, and I had never seen this until we were there, even have video games attached to them. That's not targeting an adult. It's targeting a child. And they're also, the majority, are coming in from China, which is illegal, and they're lacing them with THC. Now, right now, I can't say that I've seen deaths with fentanyl laced, but we want to get on the front end of this because that's what's next.
We have to do it.
If we don't control this in every single one of our states, that's what's next. And for the first time, we're getting on the front end of a very serious problem around our country. And Senator Moody, you fought this as well. So thank you for letting me address that, Senator Tillis. And parents need to know that.
We do. We need to focus on it. And all I'm saying from a political standpoint is that if we're only, let's get President Trump is termed out. He'll only be able to serve out his second term. And I believe the president is absolutely focused on making these dangerous cities safer. I reject any notion that Charlotte's on that list, by the way. So whether you're a Democrat or Republican, bring it on. But I see 3.5 years from now, if we don't address the systemic problems, that what we've basically done is given a governor and mayor and city councilman a pass on failing to protect their people. I was formerly Speaker of the House in North Carolina. If I thought I had to have the president deploy troops to keep North Carolina safe, I would have considered myself a failure as a state leader. And so I just hope we strike the balance so that we're not fixing a problem temporarily, only to come back maybe even worse than the problem we're fixing the moment this president who's committed to local safety leaves. And that's something that we have to talk about. So we're leaving something behind. And I'm going to yield back. Thank you.
Senator Tillis. Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Attorney General Bondi, at your conference